Do you avoid inviting a few people over to your home? I mean, you're not alone. 65% of people over 65 seldom entertain in their own homes, and that percentage increases if you have downsized to a smaller home. Now, what if I told you that there are strategies we can put in place so that we can enjoy all the benefits of having people sit at our own kitchen table? Hi, I'm Gail Jervis, and welcome to Life After 65. I'm an avid reader and researcher, and I'm using those skills to explore all the ways my husband and I can live healthier, more fulfilling, and truly exciting lives as we learn to redefine aging. I started this channel to share what I'm learning with anyone else who has the same goal. Now, there are so many good reasons why you and I should entertain at home rather than meeting at a restaurant or someplace else. I mean, I'd like to list them before we even focus on why we avoid inviting people into our homes and how we can overcome those reasons. Number one, there's the comfort and convenience of having it at your own home. Isn't it more comfortable, more familiar? It makes it easier to move around, accommodate any physical limitations, especially for those with mobility challenges. Personal control. Hosting at home just gives you control over factors like noise levels, lighting, seating arrangements, and timing, which creates a relaxed atmosphere that could be difficult to replicate at a restaurant. How many times have you gone into a restaurant saying, "Oh, this is going to be dark. Oh my goodness, it's a little bit noisy." Or number three, entertaining at home is cost effective. It's more affordable. It avoids the high restaurant bills, paying the tips and any extra service charges. And you can also customize your meals to suit your budget. And number four, home gatherings provide the freedom to personalize meals and your decor and your ambience just to reflect your tastes, other people's tastes. Somehow you can create a more intimate, personal experience. Now, number five, many older adults, so many, any age, have dietary restrictions, but I'm restricting it to older adults. So hosting at home allows you to cater to those specific dietary needs, ensuring that everyone enjoys a meal tailored to their preferences or requirements. Now, I say that, but actually, because I'm surrounded by people with so many dietary requirements, it's actually easier for them to entertain because they are in control of what they're going to eat and what they can't eat. Now, restaurants are often busy. It's rushed. Sometimes they can't come right out and say, "Hey, we want your seat," but you kind of get that. "Oh, would you like your bill? Is there anything else I can do after you pay for the bill?" Hosting at home allows for that relaxed, extended conversations. You end up having far more quality time together without being interrupted by restaurant staff. "Oh, do you want more water? Or is there anything else I can do for you?" Just when you're in the midst of a really confidential conversation. Number seven, home settings are often more accessible if you're entertaining people with young children, or perhaps they're particularly older guests. They find the restaurant too loud and too fast-paced. Now, I don't consider myself one of those older adults, but I too sometimes just think, "Oh, am I going to be trying to shout across the table to talk?" That sure does not encourage those confidential, not just secrets, just that whole different kind of conversation that you get at home. Now, a home environment just somehow feels more personal, more meaningful, which means that it fosters closer connections and memories for you and your guests. Sitting in a public restaurant, I find, is just so impersonal. And how many times have you sat in a restaurant and the chair is so uncomfortable? It's very modern and the back is really low and it's hard. Those of us who have back pains or whatever else pains, you're just trying to sit there and you just kind of squirm. Anyways, that may be just me. Shared effort. Hosting at home opens up the possibility for guests to bring dishes, which means the whole event is more collaborative and it eases the workload. Now, if there are all these benefits entertaining at home, why are many of us not doing it? Well, physical limitations and health concerns. As we age or as we start developing more physical problems, we start thinking, oh, isn't it just so much easier just to go to a restaurant? I mean, if you have arthritis or some sort of chronic illness, you don't have the same energy. You don't have the same desire to try to plan this whole meal. I have to clean the house first. I have to dust my furniture. I have to figure out what I want to eat or what we're going to serve. We have to go get the groceries. I have to cook the food. It goes on, doesn't it? And health concerns makes those questions even harder. So makes it more difficult to have people over, particularly if we have the mindset that we're supposed to have larger groups over. And for example, if you're in a tennis group, you're going to well, it's easier for me not to invite anybody over because I can't have the whole group over. Why can't we just say to each of the people, oh my gosh, I really want to have all of you over to my house, but I'm just finding it's just a little bit too much. But do you mind? I'm going to set you all up. Once a month, I want to have you over for dinner. They understand, particularly if you're close to them or at least an acquaintance with them. They probably know you have health complications or health restrictions, and they might actually be relieved because they're like, oh, I could handle that too. So there's nothing wrong with us just having 2 or 3 more people over. But not surprisingly, research in aging and mental health concludes that older adults who face some health challenges or just any challenge, well, they don't entertain as much. They have less energy, and so they say, oh, I can't be bothered. And so these factors affect their ability to prepare and manage a gathering. That was a 2012 study. Well, I think if it just talked to a few of us, the answer was fairly clear. Research in Journal of Aging Studies, it reveals that cultural and social preferences can play a significant role in how older adults approach entertaining. For example, some people, there might be just an assumption, well, of course you're going to have all the family, or of course you're going to have all the friends. So that you feel like I can't just have a small group. I just can't have a couple of people over. So we feel, and that's a study in 2011 that said that. We have to be aware of what's preventing us from having people over. Now, certainly downsizing or reduced space has an effect. I mean, some of us may have had a larger home and now we've moved to a smaller place or a apartment. You may feel like, oh, I don't have the space to, comfortably host those larger gatherings. What? With reduced space, we might say, I think it's too challenging just to invite all those people over now. I don't think I've got the space. I just can't do it. I don't have the large dining area. I don't even know where to put all their coats. We have smaller kitchens. We have less seating. And so we say, I think it'd be just easier just to go to a restaurant, don't you? A study published in the Gerontologist shows that downsizing to smaller homes, it often leads to a reduction in entertaining and hosting because we feel like we don't have the space, we don't seem to have the same amenities. So this transition can affect how frequently and in what capacity older adults engage in social activities. Study from 2014. Now, there's also changes in social circles that we have to think about. Social dynamics often change as people age. Friends may move away. Health issues may limit people from going out of the house. Some even die. And also, you may not have yet developed close friends since you've retired. As a result, you feel like, I don't really feel like I have the same even opportunities to entertain. Older people over 65, they find themselves, like I just don't quite know who to invite. But then you ask yourself, am I going to a church? Am I meeting some people there? Am I joining pickleball? Am I meeting people there? And number 4, shifting priorities and interests. Retirement and aging often bring changes in priorities and interests. People over 65, some of us may prefer quieter, more intimate interactions. I far prefer just sitting down across from two couples and just having a really good time with them. My problem is if I'm in a large group, particularly if I'm hosting that large group, I don't feel like I can talk to anybody. I'm so busy looking around the room, making sure that everybody's got somebody to talk to, everybody has a drink or whatever. I find it's far more stressful. So, and some of us may say, I'm doing a lot of traveling now. I don't need to entertain. Well, I would think that sometimes you're back home. Just have an easy potluck supper. Financial considerations. Retirement often comes with a fixed or reduced income. Well, then you're like, well, how can I even do this? And in other words, you're not actually going to a restaurant either. And then you're thinking, well, I can't have it at home. I need food and drinks and flowers and candles and whatever else. They're overwhelmed thinking all the things they have to do. And financial prudence just says, I got to cut back. I can't even think about having people over. I've got to manage my budget. Another reason people avoid all these benefits, emotional factors. As people age, they can experience a decrease in confidence about hosting, especially if they feel that their home is not as modern or as well equipped as it once was. Additionally, if you've lost a spouse, that might diminish your desire or motivation to entertain. Or you may just don't have that same feeling about entertaining. And then you develop emotional factors. You might start getting anxious about, I don't think I can even host a social event. I haven't done it for so long. How can I do this? And number 7, in recent years, social norms around entertaining, and it increased after COVID, have shifted. There is more emphasis on just the convenience of meeting outside the home. Older adults may find themselves less inclined to host events at home. We're more likely to suggest, let's meet at that cafe. Let's meet at that restaurant. They don't want any of the preparation. They don't want any of the cleanup. Okay, we avoid those benefits of having people at home because it requires energy, physical energy, mental energy. And you know what? We're like, I only have so much energy per day, each day. Do I really want to spend it on planning, preparing, and then finally getting everyone over? I mean, our reduced energy here for some of us can lead to a preference for no inviting at all or going out. Now, we also are starting to have an increased reliance on technology for our social interaction. Now, it all got really going during the pandemic, but many people are still saying, it's just as easy for me to make a call, or it's just as easy for me to do a Zoom call. I don't really need to plan having people over. I'm still in touch with them, aren't I? All the reasons that I've mentioned for not inviting people over, they're valid. I've used some of them. But what if we can find strategies to manage those reasons we avoid inviting people into our homes so that we can have a few people over? So, number 1, how can we still entertain when we have some physical limitations and health concerns? Well, we need to think of something that requires minimal preparation. I mean, are you freshest in the morning? Well, then have a morning coffee, even a breakfast if you wanted to go crazy, but if that's when you're strongest. Or perhaps in the afternoon, you're like, no, I'm probably the strongest then. Well, then just even have a coffee afternoon, just a coffee and a coffee cake to serve. Or host a potluck dinner where you don't have to do the work. Guests can bring dishes, they help with setup, they reduce the burden of what you have to do. Remember, people are just glad to get together. They don't care, and particularly if you're saying, I wish I had the health to do something more elaborate. Are you kidding me? We'll bring something. In fact, and then you could even say, well, how would it be if I just bring maybe have the dessert, which you maybe buy, or maybe make a cake, and everybody else brings something else. Or you can go to Costco, purchase the meal already prepared. I mean, people are not coming to your home for a special gourmet meal. They are coming to enjoy your company. As I say, most people will probably know you have health challenges. They are ready to help you. I always, sometimes I get behind on my dusting that if I've had a health setback, I'm like, oh, I can't have some more. Look at the dust. Friends aren't coming to your place to critique the amount of dust that you've accumulated. Hopefully, or otherwise you don't want to have them back. And number two, sometimes we convince ourselves that we don't have the space for any entertaining. Well, I never could use that as an excuse. I learned as a young child that how much space you have in a house actually doesn't determine how many people could come over. We lived in a 736 square foot bungalow. But both of my parents came from large families of 8 to 10 siblings. And somehow we were able to fit a large crowd in our living room. Obviously, it would spill over into our small kitchen. But I don't ever remember anyone saying, oh, wish we had more room. Wish this room was a little bigger. We're feeling a little stuffed. No one complained. Well, because they also had small homes. But we didn't use that to restrict our seeing one another. I just don't remember anyone saying, whoa, we're all jammed in tonight, aren't we? No. You know what I remember? The stories, the laughter. Even if some of the people were sitting on the floor, we had such a good time. Invite the number of people that obviously that makes you feel comfortable entertaining. I mean, a small group of 2 to 4 people, it does allow for those more meaningful conversations and connections. But if you have a smaller space and you just still don't feel comfortable having someone inside, well, take advantage of the good weather. I mean, is there a place that is there a little garden or a balcony you have or a local park where you can meet? Actually, my parents and relatives thought nothing of opening up their garages on those warm days. And we would just put lawn chairs. We'd just line them up all around the garage. And we would just keep open what was like the 2 big garage doors. Do you remember them when they opened up? We didn't have electric garage door openers. And sometimes people would be walking down the alley and be like, hi. Sometimes we knew them, sometimes we didn't. But we'd invite them in. It was just wonderful just to get together. Now, number 3, if we mainly socialize with colleagues when we are working, we may need to be proactive developing new friendships. I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier about that being a problem. So yes, we may already be meeting people at various clubs and activities, but you're thinking, well, I don't know them that well. But guess what? If you invite them to your home, you will get to know them more personally. And number 4, sometimes we just find entertaining too time-consuming, too stressful. Well, how can we simplify this entertaining? For one thing, we got to get out of our heads this idea that everything's got to be perfect. We have to have the flowers, we have to have the candles, we have to put out a nice tablecloth. No. Rather than hosting a dinner, in fact, you could start small. Just pop a big bowl of popcorn, get some drinks out, invite a couple of people over to watch a movie. If it's Halloween, watch a Halloween movie. If it's Christmas, watch a Christmas movie. Or just watch any kind of movie. Or ask a few people over just after dinner so you don't have to worry about supper. And then just provide a dessert. Or you might even go crazy and say, hey, how about each one of you bringing a small dessert over? You can keep it simple. If you'd like to provide a meal, we'll order in some Chinese food rather than worrying about what food you'll prepare. I mean, again, that costs more money. And so sometimes you've got to decide whether that's worth your while, because we're also trying to keep things on budget. For example, do you know a simple casserole you can make? Can you make a simple salad? Keep it simple. I tell you, too often we think we have to prepare a meal that takes more preparation. What, are we trying to impress our guests? Our friends? And with that kind of thinking, we almost immediately postpone our idea of inviting a couple of people over. And number 5, too often we think that, entertaining is going to just cost too much money. And it does if you choose the most expensive cut of beef. It does if you decide, oh my gosh, I've got to go buy some flowers for the table. I should have some flowers on the coffee table. And I should really have some nice candles. Mine look burned down. Well, keep it simple. In fact, invite a few people over and just say, hey, I'm hosting a potluck dinner. Lowers costs, encourages participation from everyone, and you won't hear anybody complain about it. And number 6, what do we do when actually we've lost our confidence hosting a dinner. I mean, we sometimes shut down. We think, oh, I can't entertain. I haven't entertained for so many years now. And I used to entertain when I had my family home, but I don't do much now. And we think, oh, I don't even know what to cook. Oh, what? Are you a gourmet cook? Are you supposed to cook some special fancy meal before you can invite somebody over? Are you beginning to panic that, oh, even if I have a good meal, what if they don't have a good time? You might begin to worry how you're going to get your food ready at the same time you need to chat with your guests. Well, that is an easy one to solve. And by the way, if your guests are looking for a gourmet meal, tell them to go to a restaurant. Tell them you're just having a home-cooked meal. But I suspect your guests would just like to get together with you and just share a meal. I don't entertain as much as I would like to, but when I do, I prefer to cook my meals in a slow cooker or in the oven, since those meals mean that I don't have to be in the kitchen when everyone arrives. I don't have to do any kind of preparation when they arrive. I need it as low-key as possible. And so then the food is also just about ready. I just have to maybe put it in a big bowl by the time we're ready to eat. I serve a salad that I probably already have in a bowl. I just have to put the dressing in and serve some buns. That takes away my anxiety. And number 7, do we feel we're breaking social norms since so many people are now meeting at restaurants? We know that more people do this than invite others into their homes. However, you just might start a new tradition. I mean, we often went to restaurants with this one couple, but before he had a knee replacement and before I had a hip replacement, it was easier for us to get together in each other's homes. And then we discovered how much more enjoyable it is just to put our feet up on the footstool and spend time in each other's homes. Well, we haven't actually gone back to a restaurant. Now, number 8. How do you conserve your energy and manage your stamina? Well, you also might be thinking, well, I once hosted large events in your home, but even when I had my health, it still took a lot out of me. And you remember how much time you took to plan and how you were kind of exhausted after the event. Well, have you been avoiding hosting events because of that? Or you might even host an occasional event, but you can't do it very often because, it takes everything out of me. I'm tired. But what would happen if your mindset changed to keep it simple, keep it small? The irony is that when you meticulously handle all the details of decorating, you put out even place cards, you prepare fancy meals, well, you can actually discourage others from inviting you back to their own homes. I mean, guests may feel that they need to match or exceed your high standards in order to reciprocate. So in other words, is your goal to intimidate? Is your goal to overwhelm? I mean, is your goal to make your guests feel inadequate and unable to contribute equally? They might worry that their own efforts won't measure up, causing them to avoid the situation altogether. Now, as an aside, I know that there are some people who love to cook and love to entertain. Well, then we should say that's what they enjoy doing, that's what they're able to do, and so they can do that big type of entertaining. But that's their thing, and that's not mine, and it may not be yours. So therefore, just by inviting only 2 or 3 or maybe 4 people helps you to conserve your energy and manage your stamina. It means that if you keep your dinner simple, it will be easier for others to duplicate what you did. And besides having smaller dinner parties, think about when your energy level is at the highest. I think I mentioned that earlier. If it's late morning, plan on hosting a brunch. If it's late afternoon, host a dessert party. No matter how many people you invite, make sure you don't think of yourself as the cook and server in a restaurant. You're actually going to get the help of your guests. And that will once again make it easy for your guests to also entertain, since they know, I could just ask for a little bit of help. I mean, sometimes you don't want help. If you're a little bit in the kitchen and you can only think about the food you're doing, you don't want to talk, that's fine. That's what you tell a person. But does it mean that they can still pass out some drinks? If you have appetizers, pass out the appetizers. I mean, you can have them do certain things, can't you? please leave your comments about your experiences inviting others to your own home. I hope some of these things have resonated with you. Now, I'd like to conclude this episode, and I'm going to recite a poem called The Feast of Friends. It was written in 1911 by William H. Davies, and he is celebrating the joy and enjoyment of a gathering of friends. You can just feel the warmth and happiness of sharing a meal together. It goes like this. We met at the banquet. Oh, the feast was spread, the wine was flowing free, and friends sat down to partake of the bread, and each was good to see. The guests who came were the worthy band, their faces bright with cheer, and as they ate and drank and sang, the hours were full of cheer. The evening passed, the feast was done, and yet the joy was grand, for the guests who came were friends of mine, with hearts of goodly brand. The night was filled with laughter and song, and all was joy and peace. For a feast of friends, it's the sweetest thing, and the pleasures never cease. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the like button, and if you decide to subscribe to my channel, please click on subscribe and notify so that you'll be informed of all the next episodes. And please leave a comment below about your experiences with entertaining. And if you have subscribed, I'd like to know that too, so that I can thank you, because I am grateful for those subscriptions. Also, you might like to watch the next video that's showing up on your screen right now.